Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today we are kicking off my December album. I am super excited to get started on this project. A lot of people are doing some kind of daily documenting type project for the month of December. I did this for the first time last year and I love how it turned out, so I'm going to be doing the same thing this year. However, this year I will primarily be using Felicity Jane products. I did mix and match some things last year, but I have tons of leftover Felicity Jane from last year and then the entire Noel collection from this year, so that way everything will be kind of cohesive. I'll just stick with this. Now, there is still Noel collection available in the shop. There is a lot sold out, but there is still some available, as well as past collections, Holly and Joy, so definitely check those out. And today would be a perfect day to do that. Today, December 2nd, Monday, because it is the final day of the Black Friday or Black Weekend sale that Felicity Jane is doing. So there's a whole bunch of things marked down. It's a perfect time to stock up on things like alphabet stickers. These ones, the Henley gold ones, are one of my favorites. I order these all the time. I love using these for my Christmas projects. So definitely check out the sale and snag some goodies. So I am working in a 6x8 ring bound album this year. This is from Felicity Jane. I did just check, there are still some albums available in the shop, in this print and a couple of the other prints. So if you're wanting one of these, grab them. It's not too late to get started for the month of December. I know a lot of people kind of work after December and throughout the next year after they've done all their photos. So you can still jump in and grab some product. These are super nice quality albums. If you want to see Noel in more detail, check out my unboxing. I will link that down below. But it is ring bound, and so what I did for myself is I'm using the We Are Memory Keepers Planner punch board, and I went ahead and set this up for myself. That way I can punch anything that I'm inserting into here. So for those of you working in this album and are curious, I have mine set up at 11, 21, and 31. And so basically I can just slide a paper in, punch it, flip that paper over, slide it in, and punch it, and that's going to give me the perfect spacing. So I've already set that up for myself. And then in here I just stuck the acetate dividers and the little cardstock elements just so I don't forget to use them. These binders do come with a set of page protectors. I had some questions about that. They do have several different layouts, and it does come with a pack of these. So that is what I'm going to be working in. Now I've gone ahead and done a little bit of prep work off camera. I'm just going to be doing the first couple pages of this album just to kind of set it up. I did, for the outside, go ahead and create one of these fun little tassels. I did something similar last year using the little random trimmings. You get a bag of trimmings in the Noel collection. So I pulled those together. I think this one's actually from last year, but pulled those together on here. This little star comes in your packaging. If you ordered any of the Christmas collection, you've got one of these in your packages. And so it's Felicity Jane 2019, and then I just adhered all of those fun little bits on there and some little bells, and then I added some extra embroidery floss on the top here. And then what I can do is just hook this into the top ring of my album here and then let it hang out the outside. So when it's sitting on my shelf, I'll be able to see the different years on these particular albums, and it just kind of adds a fun little, you know, Christmas embellishment, lets you know that it's an extra special little album. So that's how I used the trimmings. And so we're going to be working on my like title page, my reason why, and my calendar. So for the title page, I've got one of the acetate divider pieces, and then I cut down a piece of one of the Noel pattern papers and hole punched it to fit behind this. That way it creates a little bit of a barrier between this and everything else that's going to be behind it. That way you're seeing this behind the acetate instead of, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. So I've got that prepped. I went ahead and did my calendar. This was a calendar that I created in Adobe Illustrator. I may upload a blank to my blog. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. But for the title here, I used some of the digital elements from Felicity Jane. So you can purchase these in the Silhouette Studio design store, or you can purchase them directly from the Felicity Jane store. And like I said, these are digital elements. So this were December, and then there were some of the holly pieces from last year had these little pine cones, and so I dropped those into my calendar. Like I said, I'm going to be primarily using Felicity Jane, so I wanted everything to be cohesive and to look the same and have the same feel. So I was able to do all of that on my computer, and I like to use stamps and stickers to kind of indicate on the calendar special days. We have a big trip. We're going to be going to Idaho for a week. If we go see a movie or go ice skating, something like that, I like to indicate that on the calendar, just as kind of an at-a-glance type element in there. Also working on my reason why. So I used some Essentials white cardstock, cut it down, ran it through my printer, typed out my reason why. If you want to see what I typed in there, definitely check out the close-up photos over at felicityjane.com on their blog today. You can see those photos. But I like to include a Bible verse to be kind of our focus verse for the month. And so for this year, we're going to do Romans 15:13. This says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope." And then I talk a little bit about why I like to do this project. And then I left myself some room because I'm going to be using different embellishments here. Another thing that I did off camera ahead of time was cut out the word December. So again, this is a digital cut file or digital, element that you can get from Felicity Jane. And I just used one of the solid cardstocks from the collection this year and use my Silhouette Cameo cutting machine. You could use a Cricut, Brother Scan and Cut, whatever floats your boat. I have a Silhouette. Cut it out 4 times, so 4 separate times, and then glued them all together. That way this piece had a little bit more substance and dimension to it, and this is going to be part of my title. So I also have some other elements that I pulled out that I will show you along the way, but let me go ahead and put you on fast forward, and we will put these first couple pages together. Okay, so we're going to start with the acetate piece here. Now with the acetate, you just want to make sure that you're using really strong adhesive when adhering things to the acetate. So I am going to create a bow. This is actually the ribbon that came from the packaging. I've cut it down to be about 24 inches long, and I'm just looping it back over itself over and over, and then this last tail gets tucked under. You can rewind, slow it down if you need to see how I created that bow. There's lots of bow tutorials online, but I'm just wanting a flat bow. And I'm going to find the center, use my tiny attacher just to hold it together while I'm making the centerpiece. So for the centerpiece, I'm just going to cut a smaller length of this ribbon to wrap around it. But you can do whatever type of bow you want. Just keep in mind this does add bulk to your album. So if you run into the problem like I did last year where I couldn't finish out the last 5 days of the month because I had so many things in there, you may want to use less chunky things, or you could put this on the front of the album or something like that. But I just thought it'd be fun to try and use up some of the packaging elements in my album this year. So I'm just using some really strong double-sided adhesive to adhere down the tail of the center of the bow. And again, just using the tiny attacher to hold pieces together while I'm working on the bow, and that just made things go a little bit easier for me. So there is the bow, and then I'm going to add that chipboard circle piece to the top of the bow. Now at this point, I'm trying to decide the layout. I have those 2019 numbers. Those are from this year's number set, but I end up kind of just trying to decide how, do I want the bow at the top? Do I want the bow in the center? I keep looking into my camera to see how it looks and trying to decide. This is when I wish that it was live and I could ask you your guys' opinion, but I end up going for this layout here, but I swap out these white and gold numbers from this year with the numbers from last year. I'm not sure if these are still available. If they are, I will link them down below for you guys, but I just felt like they kind of went better with what I was working with here. So to adhere the bow to the acetate, I'm going to use some more of this super sticky double-sided adhesive. It's a red line adhesive. Everything will be linked down below for you guys. Now, I know some people are bothered by seeing adhesives and things like that on the back of their acetate pages. I don't care about that. I am not a magician. I don't magically make these stick to the acetate. Something has to make it stick, and it's adhesive or sewing or staples, and I don't care if you can see the back side of it, but if that bothers you, you can always add things to the back of the acetate page to cover up your adhesive. So I use that double-sided to adhere it to the acetate, and then for this chipboard piece, I'm using some gel medium. Gel medium is a super strong adhesive. You can also use collage medium. I will have both of those linked down below for you guys. They are wet mediums, but they dry pretty quickly and they adhere super well. They're meant for mixed media type projects, so they're going to stick to that acetate. You can always go through and run this through your sewing machine or use your tiny attacher to reinforce it. I may come back and add some stitching detail just to make sure that nothing is going to pop off the acetate. So I just used a little brush to get glue on the back side of the December piece and those numbers and stuck them down. You will see that at the end of the video. You'll see the finished project. For the back side of that pattern paper, this is where I'm going to adhere my calendar. I'm not going to embellish it any more than that. I'm just going to keep it super simple. I'm, again, trying to be mindful of my embellishments, so limiting them to just specific pages. For my reason why page here, I went ahead and pulled some of those Henley alphabet stickers and I just stuck them down to a piece of acetate or transparency sheet just to get all the spacing correct. And that allows me to kind of position it on the page and figure out where I want it before I stick down the stickers. And then I'm using a T-ruler just to make sure that everything is nice and straight and lined up just how I want it to be. Again, I could come back and add a line of stitching through these stickers if I wanted to make sure that they're going to stay, you know, through the test of time, but the adhesive seems pretty sticky. I don't think I'll have to worry about it. In the stamp set from Noel is this tiny little dot, and normally I wouldn't really reach for that stamp, but it was the perfect way to accent my title here. And I'm just using some red dye ink. I also wanted to bring up some red to the top of this page because I'll have some red at the bottom as well. So just adding little details like that. And again, stamping doesn't add bulk, so that's a great way to add embellishment without adding extra fluff to your album. I'm going to use a couple of the washies. That gingham plaid is from last year, and then this red and white stripe is from this year. Again, I will try to link everything that I can down below for you guys if it's still available. And so I'm just creating kind of a ground to anchor these trees. I really love these trees. I knew I was going to want to hoard them, so I figured I might as well just go and use all of them at one time right in the beginning. That way I know they're going to get used. You could break them up and use, you know, one on a journaling card or something like that, but I thought it was fun to kind of create this little forest of textured trees. But because they're acrylic and cork and wood, again, you want to make sure that you're using really strong adhesives. So for the cork and the wood, I'm going to use that multimedia matte. And I did make little marks on the tape once I had it positioned where I wanted it to be. That way I can make sure I get it right where I want it and I'm not smearing glue everywhere. This particular matte gel medium does dry completely matte and clear. So if it leaks out from underneath things, it's not as noticeable as some other types of glue. Now for this acrylic piece, I am going to use a mix of that super sticky double-sided adhesive and some of the wet adhesive as well. Again, these are, you know, really tricky to work with when it comes to adhesives, so I like to use a variety of adhesives to make sure that everything is going to stay stuck down. Another thing that's going to help this is this particular page is going to get added to or get slipped into one of those page protectors, and so, you know, it's not going to be handled as much as if it was outside of one of those page protectors. So in my albums, I like to do a mixture of, you know, photos just on their own that aren't, you know, in page protectors, and some things in page protectors, but you do whatever, you know, style you want. If you want it all the same, if you want to mix and match, there really aren't any rules as far as, you know, how to go about tackling a project like this. For this acetate tree, I am using a little bit of foam adhesive because it's laying on top of those two other trees. It's going to need something to give it some lift. That way the adhesive is touching the paper. Now for this little acrylic tree, it is a frosted acrylic, so any adhesive I add to the back, I'm going to be able to see. And I sat there and pondered how I was going to tackle this tree, and then I remembered these little hollyberry confettis. These came with the Noel collection in its entirety. I'm not sure if you can order these individually, but they just have these little red confetti pieces. And so these are going to act like ornaments. They're going to hide the adhesive behind the tree. So I'm going to use a little bit of that matte gel medium to stick these down. I'm just using a pick-me-up tool and a paintbrush, working with both hands to stick those down. Again, this gel dries matte and clear, so you won't be able to see it if anything smushes out. And then on the back side, I can stick these super small foam dots. They are exactly the same size as that confetti, sticking those behind those confetti pieces. And so now that tree can be popped up, stuck down, and you're not going to see the adhesive. So you can look through the different embellishments that are in the collection and just get creative with using embellishments to hide the adhesive on something like this. So that worked exactly how I wanted it to. Now, as a little bit more embellishment, I'm going to pull out these acrylic stars. These are so cute. There's 2 different sizes, and they are like a gold acrylic. And so I'm going to top a couple of those trees, again just using that pick-me-up tool, and now I've switched to a glue pen just because they're a little bit smaller. So now I can slip that into the page protector, that way everything stays nice and secure, and then pop it into my album. So there is the start of my December album for this year. I am so excited for this project. I can't wait to take you along with me. And if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the description box for links to everything that I mentioned today. Be sure to go ahead and take advantage of the last day of that sale over at Felicity Jane, and check out the blog post for more close-up photos of each one of these pages. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.